Hello everybody, Jake your resident content cowboy here, yeehaw, and it's Monday. On Mondays we do tier lists, and on Wednesdays we wear pink.
I'd smooch Durban if I wasn't as gay as a tree full of birds.
Today we're going to be taking a look at the changes from the Next Step balance patch that just hit the game, and what's happening this season inside Pokemon Unite. We got it there, yeehaws and all the things. Let's take a look at our tiers here. We have our God tier, where we're only going to have one Pokemon. We're not friggin' Norse around here. We have our S tier. These Pokemon are a cut above the rest, some of the best things in the game. Our A plus tier and B plus tier are added. Between them, we have our A tier, really solid picks. We have our B tier. Still got the B tier. These Pokemon are middle of the road. We have our C tier, named the Charizard tier because at one point Charizard was in it for a long time, and well, here we are. And we have our D tier, the Decidueye Memorial tier. Last tier list I made was strictly solo queue. This is just going to be a general tier list based on the game, so I'm going to move some things around, but I'm going to keep a lot of it where it was and just talk about placement and talk about if I've seen anything that I think needs to change. So one thing that needs to change is Psyduck. Psyduck is the best Pokemon in the game right now. There are a few that are in contention for this slot, but Psyduck is clearly the best in my opinion. One of the most broken designs they've had in a little while, purely from just a control standpoint, and it does an insane amount of burst damage, given that it's a supporter here. So Psyduck stays in our God tier. Nothing else really competes with it in my opinion. Taking a look at our S tier here, we have Miraidon. Miraidon got no changes and is still probably the best attacker in the game. I'd have to go through all the attackers, but I would say it's the best attacker inside Pokemon Unite. We have Darkrai. Darkrai got some changes. It looks like some positive, some negative. It appears that Nasty Plot is now the more preferred moveset with Dark Void, whereas Dark Pulse may have lost some of its viability with that moveset. So I think even though that's shifted, Darkrai still seems incredibly powerful. Umbreon, not going anywhere for me. One of the best defenders in the game, hands down. It's a defender, it's a supporter, it's just about everything, and it's crazy good at all of it. Trevenant, if I had to move one of our defenders down, it would be Trev. Even though I think it's amazing, I do think Umbreon is the best thing going in the game right now from a defender, support, steals, shields, all in one perspective. Trevenant is incredible. Woodhammer is great. Curse is an amazing build to carry with. I'm going to move it down to our A plus tier. It didn't directly get a nerf, but since I have more tiers on my tier list, I want to create a little bit of a division there. Zacian, I would say, is unchanged for me. It got no changes in the patch, and I still think it's incredibly good. I'm going to move Blaziken down one, just because I do think the overheat nerfs coupled with the fire punch nerfs we saw a little while back could probably stop this thing from being considered the best all-rounder or in contention for the best all-rounders in the game. I do think it's very good though. Mimikyu, I had Mimikyu in our S tier last time. The tier list was fully based on solo queue. However, the fact that this thing has not received any nerfs is incredible to me. I think it's either S or A plus. Maybe I could move it down to A plus, but I really do think it's wild. And the fact that I'm even saying this thing probably needs nerfs, I'm going to keep it up in our S tier. I do think there are some competitive environments where it doesn't perform like that, but in general, I think it's insane. Blissey, I think, is the best support in the game. However, competitively, it seems to be getting a run for its money. So solo, duo, trio, it seems to be having a good time. But yeah, in some competitive settings, Blissey is not really crushing it. I do think Safeguard, however, like Safeguard Helping Hand might actually be the build right now. Moving into our A+, we'll talk more about Pokemon that shift up. Greninja, Alolan Ninetales, Pikachu, and Mewtwo. Why? These are all attackers that I have in our A tier. I don't think any of them are A+ to me right now. I think they're all quite good. I would probably leave them all in the A tier, and I think that's fair. Leafeon, I'm moving up into our A+ tier. It was basically borderline S as it was, and even though it got a small nerf to Aerial Ace, I don't think that really has changed too much for Leafeon. And I think A+ is a fair place for it. Same with Dodrio. I think Dodrio is an A+ tier Pokemon as well. I think it's very good. I don't think the Drill Peck and Agility changes are that massive. I still think Tri-Attack Jump Kick is the preferred build for this Pokemon. But you now have more options, just giving more opportunities for this Speedster to shine in different matches. Zoroark, I'm going to keep A. It might be A+. With a Comfey attached to it, it definitely is. Greedent, I would say, is probably close to A+ for me right now. I might move it up here. It's a very interesting defender. It is not played as a defender. I'm just going to keep it here by itself, not, lump it in there with Trevenant. It's played as a weird harasser with some defender capabilities, and I think it's doing really well right now, and its win rate reflects that. It's a really hard Pokemon to deal with if a player is proficient in it. Lapras, Mamoswine, I'm going to keep in my A tier. Really strong tanks, and nothing has changed for them. Garchomp, I'm going to move down to B+. I don't know why we had Earthquake changes. I don't know why they, nerfed Garchomp kind of across the board. I know it was getting some competitive play, but it seemed like it was just in a really good spot, but not an overpowered spot. That being said, they have nerfed multiple aspects of it, and I'm moving it down one for our tier list. Zarina, they have nerfed Stomp. Fair, but they have buffed multiple aspects of Zarina. Zarina may be moving into my S tier. I want more time with it. My early thoughts are solo queue wise, this thing is unbelievable. Competitive wise, we're going to have to see, but definitely one of the premier all-rounders in the game right now. Dragonite. I'm going to keep Dragonite where it is. I think it's solid. Same thing with Dark Bear. I think Dark Bear is going to hang out in our A tier. Metagross got some buffs, but they were to the build that was played less, Meteor Mash. I shouldn't even say some buffs. It got one buff, a cooldown buff, and I think it was a good buff. I'm going to keep it where it's at. I think it's solid. Gyarados, same thing. Ceruledge is an interesting one. I do think Ceruledge is still really good, but I do think it's borderline. This is one of the ones that could drop out. Mime, I'm going to drop down to our B+ tier. For some reason, it got nerfs. I don't really know why. It was a really good support, but Mewtwo, why did they nerf Mime? I have no idea. Eldegoss, Hoopa are going to stay in my A tier. They really could move up to my A+ tier, to be fair. Supports are kind of broken, and they are broken. Now that I have another tier, I'm going to move them up. All right, heading over to our B tier. I'm going to move Inteleon up to the B+ tier. It got a round of buffs here. It actually might make it close to A. I think that actually, you know what? I might move it up to A. It's kind of a big jump for it, but I think those buffs were pretty nice. However, its win rate dropped. I'm wondering if they got the bug fix figured out for it, where it was getting extra damage or something after it got KO'd once. Either way, I think it's really strong. Espeon, I'm moving up to B+. Really solid choice in my opinion. Sylveon's a weird one. Sylveon is borderline moving down to C tier for me. They nerfed it, but they also buffed it. So I'm going to keep it where it's at. Gardevoir, I think, is B+. Glaceon, I think, is B+. And Delphox, B+, as well as Chandelure, I think, all B+. All strong mages. Guard has just been doing well for a while and got buffs. Glaceon, same thing, it got buffs. Nice little buffs to Delphox here and defensive buffs to Chandelure. So all of them getting a nice little glow up this patch. Cinderace, Duraludon, Dragapult. I don't think I move any of them. However, I do think if we didn't have these Duraludon nerfs and I had my B+ tier, I'd be moving it up. For some reason, we have Duraludon nerfs. Your guess is as good as mine. Stays here. Decidueye, I'm gonna move Decidueye up to our A tier. I think I'm a little too hype on this, but I do think the increased defensive buffs are great just for, this Pokemon in general. Spirit Shackle has been and will probably always be good unless they gut it crazy, right? Right now, I do think Razor Leaf is super viable. And I know people always ask what is something viable. Right now, I think Razor Leaf is, truly pretty good. It's got good healing, and it's got good defenses now, better defenses right now. Razor Leaf has received multiple buffs throughout the past year or so, and now we have this. I'm cautiously recommending Razor Leaf. Venusaur, I'm not going to move it up or down. It got a nerf, and it also got a buff. I think it's fine where it's at. Same thing with Armarouge. Armarouge, I may move up to B+, just because its Unite move can actually target things now. Yeah. Meowscarada, I think, is pretty good. Absol is good, even though it got a nerf. Gengar, I'm going to leave in B. Talon, I'm going to move up to B+. I'll keep Zeraora here. All these speedsters are good. I do think the three I moved up to B+, to me, stand out a little bit more than Gengar and Zeraora. And you know what? Scyther, I actually don't know the real ramifications of Scyther moving up, or Scyther's healing getting better. But this is already a high-skill Pokemon that does pretty well in the hands of a good player. I'm going to move it up to our B+ tier here, especially for solo queue games. You're going to do really well. Ho-Oh, I'm keeping where it's at. Same thing with Slowbro. Crustle. Crustle In a reality where we have no B plus tier, I think Crustal maybe moves down to C, but adding that extra tier, I still think it's good, but man, what were they doing with these nerfs? I mean, at worst, it would be the top of C tier, but I don't even know if that's fair. I'll put it there for now. Snorlax, I'm going to move up. I think Snorlax has actually been showing its stuff. I'm going to probably move it up to A. Especially with how much, like, how relevant it's been in competitive play and how solid I've seen some of these, like, some big-time playmakers with this, but just in general, this thing works really well into a lot of the meta right now. You've got a couple great options with Heavy Slam, Block, or Yawn. Yawn if they're kind of squishier and you want to pick up big KOs. Block if you want to set up your team in big ways. Snorlax is glowing up, in my opinion, and I'm going to move it up. Blastoise, I'm going to keep it where it's at. It maybe is B+. That might be fair. Same thing with Slowbro. I'll probably move all three of these up, actually. I mean, none of them are bad. Okay, Lucario. Lucario would move up to the B+ tier for me. I think Lucario is quite good. Machamp. I don't even know what to say about Machamp at this point. I feel like the devs hate Machamp. I don't even know what they have against Machamp, but I'm moving Machamp down a tier. It got nerfed. Truly bananas nerf. Same thing with Tyranitar. I'm moving Tyranitar all the way down to the bottom. Tyranitar is middle of the road, and it probably could be one tier higher, but I'm going to move it down all the way to the bottom here. I just, truly, like, its win rate has plummeted. The fact that they nerfed this thing when it was middle of the road is truly baffling to me. Water Bear's doing pretty good. Probably better than it's positioned right now. I'm going to put it up in our B+ tier. Phalanx is fine, but it probably needs some buffs. Wiggly. Man, I still think Wiggly's pretty good, but I'm really confused at the Wiggly nerfs. I really am. I don't understand it at all, to be honest. I don't know if they were worried about its, coordination with Darkrai, but then it just feels like nerf Darkrai, right? Why would you be nerfing Wiggly for that? I'm going to keep it bottom of the B tier. Clefable, I'm going to move up to B+. My thought process here, I do think Follow Me is the move, and I think the buffs to Follow Me are actually pretty good. So, we shall see. C tier, just moved Crustal down. Might be named the Crustal tier soon. Mew, this was purely solo queue. In general, Mew is better than this, especially support Mew. I think in general, I'm moving Mew to our B+ tier. I think that's probably a pretty fair place for it. Like a general look. Cram, I don't think this patch changed much for Cram at all. I'm keeping it C. Same thing with Goodra, Azumarill, Machamp, welcome. Charizard's going to hang here. Sword is probably slightly better than the rest of this lot. I'll move it up to the B tier. Buzzwole as well. I mean, it got buffs. They feel pretty minuscule, but I still think it's better than some of these others. Scissor needs some love. It's very specific. It's good into very specific comps. Same thing with Mewtwo X. Mewtwo X is probably closer to B, but I'm going to keep it C. It just feels a little underwhelming right now. Sableye is actually probably closer to the B tier. This was a pure solo queue tier list last time. I think in any other format, like duos, even trios, Sableye is just really strong. I don't think the buffs change too much. Comfey as well, moving up to our B tier here. And I'm going to keep Tyranitar in our Decidueye Memorial tier because what were they thinking nerfing Tyranitar? I'll never know. I don't understand a lot of what happened with the Next Steps patch, but here we are. Let me know what you think in the comments. What did I get right? What did I get wrong? What Pokemon should move up and down? As always, I love hearing the discussion. Just be cool to each other and feel free to discuss amongst each other in the comments. Just, yeah, do it respectfully. I love you guys. I'll see you all very soon. Woo, last day. It's a good call out for people who watch the streams.